Congress gives a standing ovation, congratulating the D.C. police for their conduct in killing Miriam Carey. Frankly, this is a perfect example of why having military drills in populated areas is wrong. Remember the Florida flyover by the helicopter shooting M60 machine guns? I wonder how many people had heart attacks because of that. Or may have gone to grab a gun to try to protect themselves, not knowing whether they were being invaded or what. And now we have this down in D.C. At the Naval Yard shooting, SWAT teams are told to stand down. In a situation where a woman gets scared and tries to flee something she doesn't understand, they unleash an entire armed force, militarized police force against her. Do you remember the Dorner situation? Remember the two women that were shot up by the LAPD in the pickup truck? They weren't even black women. And the truck wasn't even one that matched the description of Dorner's. The militarization of police and police brutality are wrong. The police cannot, should not ever be militarized, ever. Can I speak with authority on this? You're damn right I can. And if you people, and I know I'm preaching to the choir here, but I'm saying this because I know the NSA and the FBI watch this stuff, okay? I know that. CIA. Listen, you guys are cowards. You ever hear of tipping a car? You know, what could you have done here? I mean, yeah, okay, I realize there was a possibility that this person was carrying explosives in their car. I realize that there's a possibility of that. But overreaction and shooting her through the window. You know what I want to ask all those folks in D.C. and across the country? Trayvon Martin versus Miriam Carey. You just had an innocent woman who was scared, running because she didn't understand what was going on, and she was murdered by the government. Yes, I understand the cops, you know, but you know what? This thing about officer safety is way overblown. They talk more about officer safety than they do about public safety, about the safety of an individual. Do you know how many people I went up to as a police officer who had weapons that I didn't have to shoot them? This whole terrorism thing has come down to where we make everybody a terrorist and justify anything that the government does. I want to know why you people out on the streets right now rioting, demanding justice for Miriam Carey. This is disgraceful. It shows how this race stuff is used by the politicians. I'm really disgusted. A standing ovation by Congress. That what they should have done and said, you know, we're really sorry this happened. Okay, the police, you know, they made a mistake, maybe, or they didn't even have to say that. The police may have, you know, taken this woman out because we didn't know who she was, but a standing ovation? You are disgusting. This is a democratic republic, not a democracy that we can vote on who we kill. God's help your souls. And then you wonder why I put out resolution of a former idealist again, just my journal entry. And you look at this disgusting, despicable behavior. It's prima facie that this country is disgustingly degraded. It's in the pits of the sewers. It's manure. The good people have to separate out from this, ladies and gentlemen. They have to separate out. You have to refuse to support this government at every possible level, even if it means that you have to sacrifice. It's gotten to that point. God bless Stuart Rhodes. Checkpoints, military drills that scare the public, and then they take action against somebody who gets frightened. You know what? There's law that says that a man intends the natural consequences of his acts, right? So you put these drills up there and you scare people, have them have heart attacks, get in accidents, run because they don't know what's going on. Who's really responsible here? You have military installations and training areas you can do these things. You don't do it in populated areas. This isn't Fallujah. This isn't Sarajevo. This isn't Kandahar or Kabul. And we shouldn't even be doing that stuff there. Government is evil. It's out of control. The NSA and the DHS now say that if you believe in privacy, you are a terrorist. Have terrorist leanings. The Director of National Intelligence, James Clapper, claims that the shutdown and sequestration will increase our chances of disaster by 75%. What a... almost lost it there. What a liar. You look at that guy, and you look at Michael Hayden too. They look like Nazi war criminals. They've got death in their eyes. And they've been put in power. There's a reason they have death in their eyes, because they're going to bring it to you. Look out for false flags, ladies and gentlemen. You know, they're playing this thing up with Miriam Carey pretty well, but they got some other stuff planned. I've been getting information, but you know, again, timetables are always hard to tell. They're going to do something. They're going to do something. If we have a major disaster, a major false flag in this country, it was the government that orchestrated it. They either used provocateurs or they did it themselves. It's coming. Of course, with them blowing up this thing with Miriam Carey into such an orgasmic, you know, party, they can make a little thing look like it's a terrorist attack. And then a real terrorist attack, you know, they just look out. Just look out. And it's going to be, the terrorists are your government, funded by your government, helped along by your government, provocateur. I've worked with the FBI. I know how it works. You get a guy who can't think for himself and you guide him into doing something wrong. I know how it works. On a good side, California apparently issued a nullification of the NDAA indefinite detention. California did that. Jerry Brown apparently signed it. Wow. All the bad stuff in California, that one really surprises me. State nullification of this illicit, illegal, unconstitutional, criminal federal government is the way to fight it. Yeah, I don't like California, but this is a good way to fight it. Stuart Rhodes and his civil preservation teams that are modeled on the A team of the Special Forces. Great ideas, guys. We have to do this because the federal government is gone. It's falling. Okay, it's falling apart. But remember what I said before. Even as they lose power, as they lose influence, as they lose credibility, they will use force on the American people to keep it. They will hurt the American people to stay in power, regardless of how the government dissolves. So just be careful. Okay, wow. I was going to say a few other things, but I think I'm a little hyper over this. You know, and I can speak from experience, as you well know, police officer and military. You know, this is out of control. Congress, you know, allowing the government to declare that the entire United States of America is a battlefield, so that they can use these kinds of tactics. The preparation of the DHS, all of this stuff, these checkpoints, harass citizens as they let, you know, people that cross the border illegally go. Can't you see where this is? Yes, I washed my feet of this. You know, I've asked God to bring judgment upon these satanic, Luciferian, criminal, evil people that run the governments of the world, but particularly in the Western world, and particularly here. This nation harbors the evil empire. It protects the evil empire. This is, in fact, just as I've said, the Babylon of the last days. This is the the breadbasket of demons. And they steal our substance, they steal the sweat of our brows, and apply it to their Luciferian, criminal, evil enterprises. We can't keep contributing to this, ladies and gentlemen. Military, I understand you're waking up. We've been trying to. People like myself, we've been giving you this information and passing it along. Remember, you're there to protect the people of this country, not to make war on them. The police need to be left alone as peace officers to handle the public. You need to protect us against foreign and domestic invasion. Domestic invasion? Whoa, what's that? Elements of the military, elements of the CIA, elements of these rogue organizations run by the shadow government that are trying to hurt our citizens, frighten them into accepting more and more draconian measures. I don't have a whole lot of respect or confidence in the DOD or the Joint Chiefs of Staff, and the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, General Dempsey. And this whole thing with Syria was going on. He basically did not support it, which really surprised me. Actually, it really surprised me. But I don't trust anybody in the upper echelons of the military either. So, you folks in the military, remember, your oath is to defend the Constitution of the United States. Why? Because that is the best way to protect the people of the United States. You're not there to support the president. You're not there to support Congress or even your commanders if they do things contrary to the Constitution. The people are the fourth branch of government, really the first branch, because the people are who created the states and the federal government. This is not a democracy. This isn't two wolves and a sheep deciding who's for dinner. This is a democratic republic where majoritarian coercion cannot invalidate the Bill of Rights of an individual. Go back to another thing. God is liberty and life in virtue. The devil is slavery and death in decadence. I pray every day that whatever you worship, I'm not going to use names here because, I look at what's in the heart of men and women rather than specifics. Because even those who say that they've been saved by Jesus, very few of them have actually met him. All manner of blasphemy and sin will be forgiven unto man, except blasphemy against the Holy Ghost, which is an assurity of truth. And most of us don't have that assurity of truth. We're still trying to seek it out. As James said, pure religion is this, and undefiled before the Father, that you take care of the fatherless and the widows, and that you keep yourself unspotted from the world. That's true religion. Killing unarmed men and women, killing the innocent because they don't worship your God, is satanic and Luciferian. You're worshiping the wrong God if you do that. And of course I'm talking about the jihadists over in the Middle East and those that are here. There are Christians that have done that too, of course. The Inquisition, the killing of Hypatia by Christians in Alexandria, Egypt. She was a pagan woman, very good woman, very intelligent. Christians killed her because, they didn't agree with her. In the name of God. If men can't approach and know God, but God has to come down to them, then you can't hold people accountable for your interpretation of God. You have to look in their hearts and see if they want to do what's right. Everybody wants to be right, but few people want to get right. And for those who are trying to get right, they have an open heart and a contrite spirit. And God will accept them long before He accepts you who adamantly swear that you're His followers and that you will gladly kill anyone who doesn't maintain your interpretation. And you will reap the rewards. And that goes for the government too, because these government people that worship the government think it can't do anything wrong, that it is God on earth. I did that video a while back where Obama, blasphemed and said that the USA and Israel are eternal. That was Luciferian double talk code for saying that they represent God on earth. I already explained that. Government is not God. God is here the government is supposed to be here to guarantee, to fight for, to protect, to preserve God-given rights. And if it's not here for that, it deserves to be dissolved and a new government instituted. And of course, when I say that, I'm not saying to throw the Constitution away. I'm talking about getting rid of the evil, corrupt forces that are in it. So I'm not talking about overthrowing the government of the United States. I'm talking about ensuring that it conducts itself according to its own supreme law of the land. And no, I will not give a standing ovation to those officers in the D.C. police, Capitol Police, any of those people. You guys are over the top. Again, standing ovation, Congress. Trayvon Martin versus Miriam Carey. Who really, in that situation, deserves our love, our condolences, and hopefully to learn from our mistakes. God bless you, Miriam Carey. I'm sorry. Because I realize that the pressures of this life were heavy upon you. And the poisoning of our water, our food, giving us prescription drugs, the media, all of these things hurt us instead of lift us up. God bless you.